I have a gentleman here today that he gave Grant Cardone well over $100,000 to invest, and he's going to talk about that experience. And so, hey, I appreciate you being on. We're going to keep him anonymous, but this is a real deal. So tell me, how did you get involved with Grant Cardone?
We invested in his sales course, Cardone University, and it helped me a lot. I became one of the top producers in my region within 3 months. And I started hearing about Cardone Capital and how it was one of the best investments ever, or basically there's no better thing in real estate. And because the sales training worked out so well for me, it was so profitable that I was like, yeah, I mean, this guy's legit, so I'm going to invest with him.
I mean, everything that he said when he talked about business was all stuff, work your ass off and, follow every lead and right. And just kind of all that sort of stuff and bust your ass and become more valuable to your boss. And I assume a lot of that's in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all good stuff. And so when I first heard of Grant Cardone talking about business, I said, well, yeah, that's good motivational stuff. I thought so too.
I felt like he wouldn't steer me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And just because the sales training went so well, so I was like, yeah, I mean, Uncle G is not going to do me wrong. So
Cardone Enterprises, that's not what you want to invest in.
And I was definitely wrong about that.
Based on your pleasant experience with business training, you decided to throw in with Grant Cardone's company, and you invested well over $100,000, correct?
Correct.
And
so they were saying how I would get a 6% preferred return. And
when you say were you in a seminar situation?
No. So I saw a few videos on his YouTube channel about it, and then the sales reps would tell me the same thing: 6% preferred, 15% IRR is the goal, but they're going to go much higher than that. If the property makes 6% or less, they do not get the 40% cut, the 60-40 split.
They do. They get 40% of the money.
No, they said they don't. So anything,
but they do if they get you 6%.
If anything over 6%, so if they get 8%, the 6%, I get the whole thing, and then the 2%, they get 40% of that.
That's 60-40 split. I was blown away by, because I'd actually ascertained that from watching one of his first videos, and where he talked about, he said, I just cut a check for, $1.2 million to the partners and $800,000 to myself. And I go, well, that's a 60-40 split.
We distributed $2 million to our investors last month. $800,000 of that went to me last month.
So he just described a disbursement from Cardone Capital, as I understand it, that $2 million went to investors, he being one of them. He got 800 grand. The other investors got 1.2 million. Okay, that's a 40-60 split. But I'd never heard that expressed out loud on YouTube anyways, on his presentations.
But I have no documents to show how much actually they're taking. So, and because then I saw your video as well where it showed that he gets 800,000, the investors get 1.2 million. That's exactly a 60-40 split. And so it leads me to question what's really going on.
Interesting. So you actually caught my video on that. Yeah, that's the first thing. I'm a numbers guy, so that's the first thing. But you do know by the statements that you get that you've gotten basically roughly 4.75%. Is that what you said?
The first 2 years it was 4.5. In January of 2023, now it's 4.7.
4.7. Okay.
So 4.74 actually, but yeah.
Okay. And how long is that money tied up for?
There's no set time. So their goal is 10 years. In his investment calls, he has monthly investment calls where we can join in, but it's basically one giant upsell to the next fund. But he's been claiming for 3 years. I pop in once a year, and it's always the same thing: invest in the next fund, and I'm going to refinance the older funds, do a cash out refinance, so that all the current investors get their equity back, and they still have a hold in the deal, so they still get some cash flow. So it's almost like the Burr method. But nothing yet.
Never happened though. He's never resold it and made a profit and gave you any money back other than the interest.
He's done it in the earlier funds, which I think him and his close entourage are the only investors.
My name is Tom, and I mentor people to invest in real estate like me. I explain in detail how I got the deals and made tens of millions of dollars in real estate over the last 40 years. I write checks for cars, college, houses, and buildings. If you're over 25 years old and you want to make thousands or even millions like many of my current students, then go to flipAnythingUSA.com and sign up for my free seminar or take the mentorship survey and see if this is a good fit for you. Don't be fooled by fake gurus. Sign up for free today and get my book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. It's been a bestseller on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle. Thank you. Oh, but you weren't a part of that.
No. I joined one of the bigger funds that came out later when he went public to non-accredited investors.
I see.
And one thing that I found interesting was, so I had 4.5% return exactly, which I thought was kind of odd. It's an exact number.
Yeah.
And then I saw your video on how somebody was commenting that non-accredited investors in the black and white get 4.5 and then accredited gets 6%. So I thought that was an odd feature that I was told 6%, but I'm getting 4.5, and that's written in the black and white. So that's something I missed when I was younger.
Well, that's interesting. Well, the devil's always in the details. Okay,
Yeah.
in the contract.
I was very naive. Luckily, I put half of my money in the fund, and the other half I decided to do it on my own. And within 3 months, I 8 times my money.
You're making 4.5% on the money that you invested with Grant Cardone. How well have you done for yourself in comparison? In other words,
So cash on cash is over 30% annually, and then equity wise, it's almost 1,000%. It's about 850 to 900%.
Wow.
And so that was just a huge eye opener, and my money's locked in. So
right. So you were able to take your own cash and just stomp the returns. In comparison, you've made up to almost $1 million with roughly the same amount of cash. Is that fair to say?
Over 2 million.
Over 2 million. Yeah, using your own cash, investing for yourself.
And the annual cash flow is over 6 figures, easy.
Gotcha. And then on the other side of that, the same cash that you've had Grant, working for you. What's the total return you've had over 3 years? Maybe $15,000 or something like that.
A little bit more than that.
Maybe.
Not impressive.
Gotcha. And you have no control. You can't say, hey, I want to get my money back out. Do they have any option for you to pull your money out?
They said there is. It's like there's a lot of hurdles and there's fees, quite a few fees, so I wouldn't get the whole amount back. And but there has to be some drastic thing happening in my life that I have to prove.
You ain't a little baby, you ain't cry baby, you ain't stupid baby, you ain't dumb. Yeah, I need my money. I gotta buy a Rolex.
Yeah, so it was a good reminder where it was a very good learning lesson where literally doing that one thing was a learning lesson that cost me a couple $1 million.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, in comparison. And for somebody young like yourself, or somebody, would you advise them to invest with Grant Cardone?
Maybe if you work 100 hours a week and you don't have time to do anything else, but at that point, just do a REIT. There's a few stocks that do 10% returns, or even other syndicates that have much better splits and much higher returns.
Right. Well, I think you can put it in the bank, or even on bonds you can do.
I just opened a savings account that pays over 4%. No questions asked.
Wow. And you can pull your money back out, correct?
It's completely liquid.
Once you know what you can do with your money as an investor yourself, you never touch stuff like that, right?
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, just when other people are doing it, it's they're gonna win, not you.
Yeah. And so why did you jump in and take my mentorship?
So when I learned a lot when I was doing everything on my own.
Utilizing the book, you mean?
So when I was buying real estate before I knew you were around, I did a few things that were just ideas that popped up in my head. This guy's getting divorced. Let me jump on this. Let me look at every single property that's in the market, and let me see if there's inefficiencies that I can capitalize on.
That's right. I recall. So you had actually, without even reading my book, you had already made some money in real estate. And when you saw me, what you saw is that some of your original ideas that you had created and made money on, you had said, that's exactly what I did already, right?
Correct. It's more me doing trial and error, and then you essentially, by the way you spoke, I was like, okay, he actually knows what he's speaking about. There's no fluff,
Right.
and you actually had systematized the things that I was doing randomly in the beginning and that I slowly learned, and that's what drew me to you. And I read the book just because it's uh it's almost like you've refined what I was doing very roughly,
Yeah.
essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the efficiency would be very profitable for me in the next few years.
And now that you've been in the mentorship, I assume you've only been a week or two into it, I think, but what do you think so far? A lot of good information, or what do you think in your
Uh,
own
Definitely a ton of information.
words?
Um, Definitely. Luckily, I have the time where I can actually really just absorb everything that's going on in there, and I really like it.
And what do you think of your classmates?
Um, so I like that a lot of them are ahead of me,
Yeah.
or at least the ones that I've met are ahead of me, and
Hmm.
so I feel like there could be a very good resource to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah. That's an interesting statement you just made. And this is what's really cool. You feel trapped when you don't have any role models around. In other words, when you're the biggest fish that you know what I mean? It's nice to get, like into a bigger fish bowl where you're not the biggest fish, where you have something to aspire to. And that's what's really cool to me. You think you're doing great, and then you go, oh, wait a minute, I can do better, because you can see that somebody else is doing a lot better. So that's an interesting observation. I appreciate that.
And they also show me that there's other doors as well. So if I only can see three different avenues to do things, but then speaking to other people that are much more advanced than me, now I see 20 different ways to do things.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
my mind
We have
opens up.
some really talented people in my class, people that have made $1 million in a year, or a couple $1 million in just 2 years. And the difference of having a mentor and having a really a brain trust, which is what we have within the group now, where people are applying and doing certain things, and people recognize, because everybody's open book and shares. I tell everybody, be cryptic with your deals, keep your deals close, make sure you have it, have the deal signed, have it or own it out before you ever share. But once they do have it to that point, the people in the class share with each other, and it just opens people's eyes and go, you know what, I have that same opportunity right here in my city, 1,000 miles away. And that's the beauty is that so many of the opportunities that people learn in my mentorship are basically the things that happen every day somewhere else. There's 1,000
Mhm.
cities in just about every state in the USA, and in every country, and every there's the same kind of opportunities reproduce and happen everywhere. And now you know that firsthand. Well, I appreciate you sharing about your experience with Grant. And so tell me about the sales calls again. Once you get in the door, it's constant upsell, right?
For the Cardone Capital specifically, yeah, so there's monthly investor update calls, and easily more than half the first few like 10 minutes is probably just motivation, getting everybody in a good mood, and then it's just upsell into the next fund. You got to
Wow.
do it. You got to do it. I remember this one lady. I remember she was a single mom saying how she had 300,000 saved, and that's all she had. What should she do with it? And Grant was just like, put it in the fund. Put it in the fund. In my head, I was like, 300 grand, 4.5%. That's only like 1,000 a month. How's she going to survive off of that?
Yeah, that must have been painful to hear as you became more advanced an investor, after, dwarfing, your returns from him as opposed to what you were doing on your own, huh?
Yes, luckily I lived very frugally in my 20s where those mistakes weren't devastating for me. It was more of a very hard learning lesson.
Sure, sure. Hmm.
But and then there was another guy that he invested 550,000, and he showed how his monthly cash flow was I think 1450. So
1,450 on $500,000.
or maybe it was 2500. It was about that. But
Hey, you guys want to see what a $550,000 investment into Cardone Capital gets you? What is that, 1,200? That's $1,500 and 1,250. It's okay.
but
That's a 5% return, I guess, right?
so, correct, but easily in finding a good property, you can get a 30% cash on cash return, not
Yeah.
including the tax benefits, equity pay down, appreciation. It's a no-brainer to do it yourself.
Is that something that what I like to call fake gurus or the scammers, is that they try to factor in every tax benefit and add it to the bottom line?
I'm not sure if I understand the question.
But in other words, they'll say you're going to get X return by the time you figure in your depreciation and this, that, and the other things. In other words, they try to include the taxes, the depreciation, and every break that you get from it, not just this is what you make on your money.
Oh yeah, everything's tax deductible. I remember even the sales course, I was told it's tax deductible, but it wasn't, because I was a loan officer as a W-2 employee. So it was not tax deductible, and I had to pay the IRS back for the tax credit.
So did you get the feeling that the salespeople that were talking to you were commission based? You can actually get a sense of that by how hard they try.
Well, it was also obvious because I was joining a sales course that the salespeople are obviously going to be hard chargers, and so I already knew it, and I already pretty much had the mindset that I was going to buy it, just because my friend was making a killing selling solar with that training, and then I did a killing with it as well in loans.
So you recommend Grant Cardone's his course as far as being for sales? You got some value out of that, and that was worthwhile.
Oh yeah, I recommend it as one of several things to do, not the only thing to do. Gotcha. And I think it's great, but you don't even need to get the course. I think the books are enough. All the books, and just reread the books and then just execute. A lot of my peers and a lot of people I've seen just don't execute.
Does he even have an investment course? Is there such a thing as a Cardone investment course?
I remember there was a real estate investing course and a real estate investing book. The book was a short book that basically was just invest in his fund. I don't know what I think his real estate investment course was 10 or 20 grand. I never got into that because I was already making money on my own.
People want to know this stuff, and so it's kind of nice talking to somebody that's actually been there. I have a gal in the class that she said she went to a Grant Cardone event. I think maybe it was Vegas. She flew there. Right. She rented a hotel, went there, and she said that she was upset because they had like a young man, the way she described, had brought a young man up on stage and had like 1,000 people, like sign it, but to spend the $2,500 or the $25,000, whatever it was, I don't know the specifics on that. But she said she just felt like it was a big sales pitch, and she didn't learn a damn thing. That it was all more about invest with us.
Yeah, I went to one of his 10X cons. I went to the one in Miami, and it's nonstop pitches. Nonstop. I had a blast because I was in Miami, so I just
You're smart for that.
So yeah. My friends and I were like, all right, look, we're not gonna buy anything, so let's just socialize with people that look like fun, and then go party. We'll show up late every day, and then that's what we did. It was
yeah. I gotta give Grant credit on that. Yeah, host it in Vegas. Or any fun place.
So when people ask me about 10X Con, I'm just like, Miami was great.
Yeah, that's funny.
The big thing, and then that I just recommend for everyone is, no one's gonna care about your money more than you. So don't ever hand it to someone else in terms of investing. So buying courses and stuff, I think that's great, but be very careful because most of the people out there are fake. Yeah. And I only learned that I was only able to start spotting who was fake when I got in the business myself. So when I started investing in real estate, I would just go on YouTube just to see. And in general, I knew that most people didn't know what they were talking about.
Right. Something doesn't smell right. You kind of, even if you're inexperienced, a lot of people, I think, like, something doesn't seem right here. And When something doesn't seem right, there's probably something that's not right.
Exactly, because before I bought my first house, these guys sounded great. I was like, wow, I'll never be like these guys. Bought my first house, I was like, these guys, it smells like something from the bathroom.
Oh boy.
So so get in the business first, and then see who you might want to follow. That's the way I would do it. And also, I became a loan officer to learn real estate as well. So that also helped me a lot to just know how the banking process works on borrowing money. That really helped as well. So get in the business, and also don't really look for a mentor until you're actively looking for houses, so then you can actually spot who's fake and who's not.
Yo, stop and listen. Time is on a mission to eliminate all the snake oil and the fake gurus that fake y'all. He'll show you how to build an empire, starting with nothing but a desire. All you really need is a good mentor, not a used car bullshit. With time, you'll learn to crush it. Investing like Warren Buffett. With real estate, you cannot procrastinate. Everyone who hesitates is left at the starting gate. Hey, yo, so don't delay and join today. The mentorship and FlipAnythingUSA. Go.
I tell anybody to get in the class, you got to develop a passion for it. You know, you have to read the book before I'll even let you in. You know what I mean? And it's just a way to pre-qualify the group to come in. I'd like people to have a passion for it, have a true interest in it. You know, I always love it when somebody tells me they've already owned 2 or 3 houses, like you, right? You have a few properties, and because it's like, okay, perfect. You kind of know what you know, and you know, you've already got the passion. That's a huge deal. You've got the passion already, but not necessarily. You don't have to have the property first, but you got to have common sense. And I'm always impressed when somebody has money saved. You know, somebody can save money. You know, even if they make $15 an hour, and tell me they have 10 grand they saved in a couple of years or a year. That's kind of tough to do. You know, but people do it.
I agree, and that's one of the things I actually did appreciate from Grant Cardone was he always emphasized to save most of your money. And so I was doing that, but I didn't realize it was save the money to put it in his fund. But if you just save most of your money and don't spend it, it's liberating. On
What do you think about his advice on sell your house?
That's a loaded question.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're told to sell your house and invest in his fund, that's what he's.
This is the best asset class you can be in. If you got a house, refinance it right now, because you're not going to be able to sell it.
You will be crippling yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
But definitely, like, I used to own a lot of crypto as well. I invested in many different things. I crashed and burned in so many things. It wasn't just Cardone. And however, I actually doubled my money with crypto right before it went 10x essentially.
Yeah.
And but I didn't mind because I sold all that to have a down payment for a house.
Oh, nice.
And so only sell an asset when you're going to get a better one. And that's what I did, and it worked out great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a good point. That's what, people ask me, why you got, they'll say, why did you sell that beautiful building? Yeah, I say, because I sold it because I got a deal on one, 3 or 4 times bigger. I said,
Exactly.
I traded it up. I just trading up. And that's like this little house. Anyways, it's funny. These are properties that pop up behind me, are all properties that I bought, over the last 41 years. And there's a story with every one of them, it's funny.
Yeah. And
so many stories come back to mind.
And then one thing that I see with a lot of like my peers, so I'm 33, a lot of guys are scared to get started. Guys and girls are scared to get started. Even my first deal, I mean, it was okay. It was market value. But even that, 12% return on cash, and compared to the down payment I put in, I 4 times the down payment I put on it within a year, because I was buying in 2020.
I don't know.
So,
what you mean, 4 times the down payment.
So basically, I bought a house at market value in the beginning of 2020, $50,000 down, and then 6 months later, 9 months later, the equity was over 200 grand.
Oh wow! Yeah.
So, and that was my worst deal.
And when you
And
bought that, see, a lot of this, I say it all the time, you know, everybody's a rock star when things are really good. And then, you know what I mean? And things were really good,
oh
right?
yeah,
Kind of went up like a hockey stick, and that happens at times. But what people don't see is on the downside is that they can drop like just as fast. And you probably saw that same property that probably doesn't still have the same equity today that it had then with the interest rate going up, correct?
according to Zillow, so last year was worth about a little over 600,000, and now it's like 490. But
Okay.
I'm still over, but instead of being over 200 grand, now I'm over like 70 grand.
Well, oh, you still own this property?
I haven't
Yeah,
sold any of them.
yeah, yeah. No, no. My point was, I mean, it's fine to hang on to property like that, but what I'm saying is these cycles happen where, for whatever reason, there's a lot of different reasons. But the economy's good. Maybe the area that you're in is doing especially well for whatever reason. You know, I mean, I was in an area where there's lots of aircraft, Lockheed, Boeing, and they'd get a huge, contract, and most of the people in the area work for Boeing, Lockheed, and it'd be like, okay, great, everybody's working, everybody's, and then they need more people, and then they start building, and then the values of the existing structures goes up in value. Everything goes up in value, you know. But then, and likewise, when a big plant closes or the contracts dry up, and then people start leaving to go find a better job or to find a job. Period.
Actually, yeah. So for the past few, I have 3 friends, and if you guys are watching, I love you guys. But so they're flippers. They're like their full-time job was flipping, and I just and I would always tell them, hey, have a few rentals so you could pay for your mortgage when things turn down, because it's only going to go up for so long. Then when it goes down, you want to be able to weather the storm. One of them listened, the other ones didn't, and now they all have flipping mentorships. So when
They do.
yeah, so I just thought it was funny. They went into teaching flipping once the economy went down, and they couldn't actually make money off of flips anymore.
Oh,
So
that's
that's like anybody can flip when the market's going up.
yeah. Well, that's why I say everybody's a
Yeah.
rock star when the market's going up. Yeah, that's it.
Mhm.
But it's kind of shock for people that have never seen values go down. You know what I mean? And because it's not a piece, really in the last 10 years, I mean, only now we're starting to see values go down, but it's been 10 years, prior to that things were kind of normal and going up quickly for a little bit there. And I've seen several cycles in the last 40 something years. And I started in the highest of inflation in 1981.
I also got lucky because my parents invest in real estate, so they always told me own stuff that will rent out when it's bad, when times are bad. So like in 2009, they had no issue because all their rentals were rented.
Yep.
And so when I was buying, that was my intent. What's near all the buildings, what's near all the shopping centers, and what's going to be rented out. And I've had no issue at all.
No, yeah, you over time there's things that change, and anything you got, if you're going to keep a rental, you better have some basis for understanding why it's going to stay full. Like that's a restaurant I bought behind me right there, and that's and I made 200 grand on that in a very short time. And a property like that, it's well located, it's right in the middle of an affluent community, and it'll always stay full, it'll always stay rented. People always need a restaurant convenient to thousands of people live a rock's throw away. So yeah, it's good advice from your folks for sure. But even things have changed to a degree. Like I can tell you, I've seen a lot of different stores that they used to have camera stores. Used to be quite popular. Video cameras, that sort of thing. That shit is gone. Very, very few camera stores can survive anymore. Big part because Amazon and some of the big retailers just absolutely crush them. I mean, Best Buy can barely stay open. You know what I mean? There's been quite a few places that
Oh
have
yeah.
been closed. Circuit City was a big one that lasted for a little while. And, I'm not even sure Best Buy, how they even make it anymore. I'm just telling you, right? I mean, you can get a jacuzzi sent to you from Amazon, hot tub. You can get, washer, dryer,
Portable home.
portable home. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. Yeah. And, yeah, I got reasons not to like Amazon too. I've owned some manufacturing companies that, man, once you get in and you start selling through Amazon, I mean, they got their finger on your pulse. And as soon as they feel it beating hard, they go find a copycat manufacturer in China. And then all of a sudden they stop buying your stuff and then they'll say, you know, and then suddenly I have 1,000 pieces ready to ship to them. They're not ordering. They're keeping their stock at zero. And then when people go to buy my product, they say, we're out of stock, but people that buy this also buy this. And it's the shit that they have from China. So it's horribly cutthroat. Terrible.
I also had one more piece of advice, which was most of the guys selling e-commerce stores, Amazon FBA, flipping business, Airbnb business, they're selling courses like that. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, I know.
So,
well, I know I can see through it all the time. You know, I mean, the key words to look for in fake gurus is deals. I've done a bunch of deals. Team is a big phony
guaranteed
word. Mindset has been destroyed for me. You know, because the guys that don't know how to make money in real estate use mindset all the time and tell you it's just a mindset. You just got to get your mindset. And but if it's like, look at the whole time we've been talking, every property that's come up on behind me is a property that I personally, that's my first property right there, actually. Every property that has come on the screen behind me is one that I personally negotiated and purchased. I mean, I bought it. There might be exception to one property there that I didn't own, but it was one that I did an assignment without having to own it. Like I said, I could talk all day. Just every time I see a picture, it changes the subject for me in my mind. But, and this is just a fraction of what I purchased. Though that's the kind of stuff that people, you know, don't demand. They don't, for whatever reason, you know what I mean? I mean, you know, they see some guy that's perfectly manicured and every day, you know, he's got blue hair one day and green hair the next, and it's like this guy looks like he's never got his hands dirty, and he doesn't talk in specifics. He might talk about 2 or 3 properties, but that does not make, and he's too young to have ever weathered a downturn, so he's lacking so much experience. Well, it's kind of like your friends that are starting, right?
Yeah, but now they have mentorships. But yeah, and I understand it. Even me, who's in the business, and I made 7 figures in a few months. I mean, I don't think I'm qualified to teach a course, like, because it was also in the 2020 when everything was doubling in value. So I feel like my timing was just perfect. So even in the different
experiences, it just takes time. Look, I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and I've been in jiu-jitsu for like 6.5, 7 years. It takes time to get skills. It just takes time, you know, and really, I think it takes about as much time to become a black belt in real estate, if you know, so to speak. It just, you can't have, I've had experiences that I've had only happen 1 time or 2 times in 40 years. You follow me? And so, and unless you have that experience, you're lost. You don't know what to do. And there's a lot of things that are one-time experiences. And it's been really cool. If you were in the, you saw Russ who came in, you know, Russ has been through some shit that, and Liam too. And Liam too, man, Liam too. Liam, I mean, and those things that I helped them through, I don't know anybody else that could help them through those things that I had endured and gone through, other than maybe a lawyer that has represented people for many, many, many years and has run into the same thing once or twice. You know, it's just one of those things. There's a lot of things that, well, you know, what one of the beauties of real estate is, and I say it all the time, is that there really is no rules. When I say there's no rules, it means 2 people can agree to make any kind of creative agreement that they want to. The terms are wide open. Terms can be absolutely anything. And even this building you see right there that it just popped up behind me, you know, that one there, I bought a 34,000 square foot apartment building for $340,000. And that property had sold for 1.2 million. And a lot of people haven't seen a stair step recession where it drops and then people are waiting for recovery and then it drops again and then waiting for recovery and it drops again. And that's exactly what happened to that property. Sold for 1.2, went back to the bank, sold for 750,000, went back to the bank, sold for 550,000, went back to the bank, and I bought it for 340,000. and I sold it for like $1.8 million or something like that. So the way that I got it and some of the deals that I made with the bank were really, really cool. And I've only been able to do it. That particular scenario, I've only been able to do one time. But like I say, then that's in the course. You'll see it eventually too. I have to laugh because every time one of these things comes up, it just, because I see what you see on the screen myself here. And it's like, oh, just so many. You're going to learn so much. I'm telling you.
I'm excited.
Yeah. That's a school. I bought that. That's a school. This thing's going to be on the tape, but that school I bought, that's a cool story. And I got outbid by guys that were trying to buy it for an Eckerd or a Walgreens or something. That's a profitable son of a bitch. I still own that thing. That's an awesome corner. Awesome. I bought that. That's a 200 by 200 lot I bought from an actor that just died, Paul Coslow. He owned a rock store. But anyway, there's just so many things. There's so many stories come to mind. The problem is 20% under market isn't enough under market. And there's just not enough meat on the bone. It's not worth it. And that's why that, it's so important. That leapfrogging is a real thing, jumping ahead of everybody, offering more. There's a time for that. And putting things things are going down. You can sell it for what you think things are going to be 3 months from now, even lower. So that way you're not taking turns going down $5,000, $10,000 a month. Instead, you just take 30 off it, sell it, get rid of it. And then by the time your property's sold, it'll be worth about what you sold it for. By the time it closes, in fact, I got one closing this. Well, it's going to close in, I think, 10 days or something. That's one. Again, I only bought it a few months ago for $303,000 or $300,000, and I just sold it for $369,000. And but even then, I put $20,000 in it, and commissions are going to come out of that. And it's a small, but I'm still making maybe 20. I was just keeping people busy, but I'm still making 20 grand. You know what I mean? This is a killer deal. This one here that's an old skating rink. Yeah, there's so many stories. This one here I bought from some folks, a newscaster in California. That one I bought this one for $120, sold it for $280. That's that
Restaurant.
That's a restaurant again. And I own the next 4 properties in a row. And about 7 or 8 across the street from great affluent neighborhood, good properties. And that was 2009 when everything was kind of going to hell. You'll hear me say this a lot. It's the only thing I know for sure is I don't know for sure. And anybody that says they do is full of shit. They're just gambling that they're going to be right. There's some people of the philosophy that the first thing that goes is the first thing to come back. And there's some truth to that. I've seen that. It's funny. I tell people, you start to sound like your father. As you get older, you start to sound like your dad.
That I agree.
Yeah. And it's just sensibility and experience is all it is, really. The things they've always told you. Pay attention to.
Like they were kind of right.
Yeah, it starts to ring true. Save your money. Don't waste it. Thinking it, buy good stuff. Yeah. Buy stuff that you can keep rented. Fantastic advice. I've made a lot of money on land, and it's a wonderful thing. You can make a lot very quickly, very fast, flip it. As long as you buy something that's in demand, you can sell it. So, but.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
All right. Thank you.
Stop and listen. Time is on a mission to eliminate all the snake oil and the fake gurus that fake y'all. He'll show you how to build an empire, starting with nothing but a desire. All you really need is a good mentor, not a used car bullshit. With time, you'll learn to crush it. Investing like Warren Buffett. With real estate, you cannot procrastinate. Everyone who hesitates is left at the starting gate. Hey, yo, so don't delay and join today. The mentorship and flip anything.